for a teacher. Is that what you did?
Yeah, just pop in just for a few minutes.
In China, but it was mostly Chinese students.
Trying to keep myself busy in my own way.
Yes. So if you pay, then we have to go through all the steps.
That time, it was critical purpose visitor's visa. Like
Interviewed fresh from the Philippines, coming here, or yung with experiences ko from the US.
Doon na ako malugkog sa bathroom kasi ang bigat ng pakiramdam na wala akong magawa.
So he got this questionnaire. He got registered here.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. And I'm back again. Thank you for following and liking my page and my YouTube channel. I'm back for another episode of our TeachNZ Talk. So this talk would be about the teacher's pathway to residency because this is something new. Well, I've said so many times, and you've probably noticed it, that policies here in New Zealand don't really last long. Every now and then they would change it to suit the needs of the country. And so I have invited an immigration lawyer, actually an immigration expert who's been dealing with Filipinos especially and other immigrants to New Zealand, moving to New Zealand to settle here as well and to, find their pathway to New Zealand. And while we're waiting for them to turn up and to join us with Attorney Maricel, who would be joining us shortly, there's a kind of a sudden situation, but she doesn't want to extend this time. Postpone this time again, because we were supposed to have it last week, but there were circumstances and we've got to move it to this day. And I'm not going to speak up further because we already have. I would like to introduce to you, on behalf of Attorney Maricel, we will find out what happened, but I'm pretty sure, I assure you everyone, that Miss Maricel, Attorney Maricel, is okay. She's just kind of resting. But on her behalf, we have Dean Patrick. I was supposed to have a quick chat with you, Patrick, a while ago, but for whatever reason, there's probably device is not connected. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Sorry, but I'll make it bigger. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Hi, Druvi. It's nice to be here. Maricel sends her regards in terms of not attending today, but I'm sure we'll get through some things. In the meantime, it's been a pleasure to see you guys. I'm not sure if I can see everyone else, but nevertheless, nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, I'm just kind of big nosy probably because you have the same last name as Attorney Maricel. Are you her son?
Yes, I'm her son. Yes. So, yeah, we are nice essentially. Sorry.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure, as always.
And you're also a licensed immigration advisor.
Yes, I am. So I recently obtained my license last January. I'm currently still studying immigration law, so I'll be set to complete that by the end of this year. It's very exciting, actually. I previously had experience, of course, outside of the textbooks, just in general life. It's been a pleasure to be, I guess, amongst the immigration industry ever since I was a kid. When I was younger, actually, I used to travel with my family to the Philippines and kind of see how they operate and of course, make a change in everyone's lives. So it's been a pleasure, and I think that's definitely what's inspired me to, of course, be here in front of you guys as well. But essentially, the idea of being a third-generation migrant myself kind of course, inspired me and pushed me towards this generation. So, yeah, looking forward to future events. But yeah, thanks for having me once again.
I'm so pleased to meet you. And although I was expecting your mom, though, but anyway, would you like to give us an idea of what happened?
Pardon me, sorry?
What? I hope your mom is okay, right? I think I've talked to her.
Oh, right, yes. Sorry, the internet seems to be a bit on the downside at the moment. So you do have a bit of a static, at least from my end. But yeah, she's fine. I feel like she's getting the traveler's bug. So she's been not feeling too well. Yeah, although she is taking, of course, vitamin C and keeping herself hydrated, she's just yet to get better. So she does send her regards, which is always good.
Oh,
I
good.
do
Thanks.
apologize as well if we have a
Yeah.
predominant Filipino audience. I'm still learning Tagalog, although I do understand fluently. It becomes quite hard. I'm still learning. Got a goal myself to learn, but we'll get there when it comes.
Oh, good. Your mom gave me already a heads up that you can understand Tagalog, but you're learning how to speak it. So not a problem. Because, I can definitely, our audience can understand English anyway. So you'll be presenting to us quickly, and then we'll move on to the question and answer portion.
Yes. So I'm pretty fluid today. So whatever comes our way, I guess we'll tackle it. But in terms of the presentation, I'm not sure if I can share my screen, but essentially it's kind of the material I had for my previous webinar actually on how to become a teacher in New Zealand. So if we have any people in that venue in our audience, then sure.
So you can just click on the present down the bottom. Yeah. Okay. There's a box, an icon that says present, and then click the ones that you would like to present to on the screen.
Okay.
Maybe it's a slide or...
Give me 1 second. While I put this out, how have you been? Where are you calling from today?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I haven't actually fully introduced myself to you. I'm Juvie of Grow Yourself in New Zealand. I'm based here in South Auckland, Manurewa, South Auckland. And your mom have already guested our podcast last, I don't remember when was that, but the topic was the New Zealand First Home Buyers Guide and Insight. So she gave us an insight about, the legal matters of buying first home. And that's how I met your mom.
Oh, great. Nice. Small world. So I've just found out that in order for me to share my screen, I have to exit the chat. So I'm not sure if that's what you want to do.
No, it should be fine. I don't know why.
Yeah, it says present, and I have to leave in order to authorize the browser. So I'm not sure if you want to head in that direction.
I'm not sure. It probably has something to do with the computer. I don't know, but Mary,
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna sort this out, and hopefully I'll be done in a few minutes if you'd like.
Not a problem. Sure, we're gonna wait for you.
See you guys soon.
Oh, good. Okay, there you go. We'll be looking forward to having Dean again, the son of attorney Maricel. It's hard for me to say the last name. Sorry, I'll be corrected later. I'm gonna ask definitely, because it's quite rude to not to know and not to say the name properly. So I'd rather not say it now because I might say it wrong. So I'll just ask later. Anyway, guys, if you have questions regarding the recent changes in the New Zealand immigration policies, please drop your comments in the comment section straight away, and we will try our best to answer that shortly. You're back. That was so soon.
Hi. Yes, I'm still trying to figure. Do forgive me. I'm still trying to figure out if I can.
Not connected. Edit name.
Yeah.
It says device not connected. Oh, would you be able to send it to me? Is that a Google slide?
It's a Canva slide actually, so I can send you a quick link.
Unless you're opening a different browser and the Canva is under a different browser, so that might be.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to put the link here. And I guess everyone who can access the link can also have a copy themselves. But essentially, this is the Pathways to New Zealand Residency slide. Got it?
Do you want me to present it on your behalf?
Go for it. Yes, go for it. That would be wonderful.
Okay, I'll try doing that now. Oh no. Now I'm finding it hard because
technology, right?
Too much at a short period of time, and maybe I'll just share the screen. I won't be able to see you here. Hang on. There you go. Canva. No, teacher's webinar.
Got it?
Oh yeah, it's a teacher's webinar, right? Oh, cool. There
you are.
And present full screen.
Perfect. So you guys can see that?
That's the bottom. Wonderful. Is that showing up?
Yes, it is. It is. It is. All right, perfect. So yeah, as mentioned, this was some material that I used for my previous webinar on how to become a teacher and essentially the pathways to New Zealand residency. Now, there's a few changes, although some have remained constant, I guess, throughout the shift over lockdown. And in terms of immigration at its wider scale, I find what I've seen is that there's been a lot of changes in how the policies essentially reflected after COVID and lockdown. There's essentially like a rebalance, and there's a lot of low skilled, not my terms by the way, but low skilled and high skilled workers are two somewhat classes of occupation based off ANSCO. And for those that don't know ANSCO is the organization that deals with a hierarchy for the level of skill for an occupation. And so they've been doing a lot of steps towards trying to rebalance the economy and essentially get the high skilled workers in, whilst also providing opportunities for low skilled. But they have been phasing out some particular occupations. So essentially, in terms of the teachers, there's been some changes, as some of us know, in terms of the straight to residence policy for secondary teachers. And this pathway is all about, getting the in-demand educators in alongside their family, if they have any, or partner, and essentially give them, a shot to contribute to the New Zealand education system. So it's been good to see. We've had a lot of inquiries on that front as well. And so that's also created the need for myself to talk about the policies last week. I think it was last week or the week before. But yeah, without further ado, we'll get into it. And so if you have control of the slide, just press the right arrow. Perfect. And yeah, so for those that don't know myself or NZHS, we've been in operations for over 20 years. And over the 20 years, we've exceeded a 96 to 98% success rate. And that's actually one of our point of differences. And so we quite shy away from, visa factory sort of business model. And we really prioritize in getting those people who have a more certain chance or a likely chance of obtaining immigration success, and essentially tell and be very transparent to those who may not have an opportunity or may need to do particular steps in order to get to where they want to be. But essentially our 96 to 98% success rate is overall. And so over the past 20 or so years, we've dedicated that exceptional rate across 18,000 successful matters. And so the thing here is that with us, we don't only assist with the visa itself, we also help employers as well. And so with that, we also help education students. And so anyone looking to study or obtain a professionally or internationally recognized qualification such as that of New Zealand, then we also assist in that front as well. And so, yeah, without further ado, feel free to get in touch, but that's a little bit about NZHS. And so in terms of the National Teacher Demand and Supply Plan and Projection, this is actually a bit of information I've extracted from Education Counts. And so essentially what we find is an increased demand for primary and secondary teachers across all areas in New Zealand. It's mainly due to the higher than expected net migration of the school-age children from other temporary work visas and those especially with families migrating to New Zealand. And so there's been a steady increase for primary teachers from 2023 to 2033. And so essentially what that means is there's going to be more opportunities for the younger generation to, of course, have a crack at, seeking education from international skills. And so, yeah, we see a primary increase in all areas. So in terms of the secondary teachers, as I said, they do have a fast track path to the skilled residency. However, the primary teachers, we still have yet to see some changes on that front. But yeah, these are just information that I extracted, not necessarily, not necessarily giving us a pinpoint detail into particular avenues as of yet, but this is just a snapshot as to the recent findings. And so for those, because in terms of the migration journey, everyone has their own checkpoint or essentially their own stage, right? There's people out there who maybe are just thinking about becoming a teacher, who are internationally recognized, or there may be also other teachers who per se just finished their bachelor's or finished their studies in education in the Philippines, for example. And so everyone has their own journeys, and essentially some may be questioning what are the benefits of becoming a teacher in New Zealand, particularly. Because of course, as you know, there's a lot of other countries in the world. And so what makes New Zealand so special? Why would you want to, of course, invest in yourself and the country you're moving to, particularly in New Zealand? And so some of the benefits to the pathways for residence for teachers in particular in New Zealand is that you integrate with a multicultural society. And so being, I guess, a very diverse society, we have a lot of Asian nationalities. We also have Pacific Islanders. And whilst there is diversity, our main language, we have two. Our main language is English. Forgive me, actually, we have three. So sign language is actually a national language for us as well. So Te Reo Māori, which is an indigenous language. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but that's the language for our indigenous people in New Zealand. And yeah, in terms of that, you can bring your family as well. So there's exceptional pathways for them. And in terms of the steps, so as you moved on to the slide, I'll essentially be discussing a few things of how to actually become a teacher. And there's very different pathways. And the first step is to get your qualifications assessed by NZQA. The thing here is that in terms of IQA, Immigration New Zealand and the Teaching Council do need to assess whether your qualification you obtained overseas is comparable to the New Zealand standards. And so in a teacher or education premise, it's essentially a level 7 bachelor's degree. And so qualifications need to be comparable to that and of the ITE, the Initial Teacher's Education Qualification. And so those two are at the same level 7 bachelor's degree. But yeah, there we are. And in terms of the next step is to ensure that you have the English proficiency. And these steps, nothing stops you from doing one after the other or one before another. But the reason why I've categorized these into these particular steps is so if you need to make changes, it's the impact of the latter steps or the steps we've done before kind of is minimized. So for example, if you do not meet English proficiency, for example, you are able to know at the forefront of your application and would save you essentially so much money for the application or the registration to the Teaching Council. And so the second step is if English is not your first language, you'd often provide the evidence of English language competency, and that can be done through various avenues, whether that be having done study for a certain period in English or predominantly English-speaking country, or of course provide a result for English, acceptable English language test. As of now, it's the IELTS. It's currently overall at 7 across all bands and 665 for the PTE academic. Yeah. And yeah, the third step would be, of course, to apply for the registration. In terms of the job offer as well, if you already have a job offer from an accredited employer, the Teaching Council will actually fast track your application and of course prioritize those who are almost at the finish line. So that's one thing to note. But yeah. Do let me know as well if you guys have any questions. I'm not sure if I can see any questions in the chat. There you are. So I pressed the comments.
Yeah, we have some questions.
Nice
Would you
to see
like
Samuel, Amos, Selena?
Questions now or later?
Yeah, sure. We can go through questions. I guess as we do this, if you'd like. I'm very fluid as mentioned. So in terms of the program structure, it's really up to you. More than happy for anything.
And we've
If
got
you'd like,
some
we can answer the questions,
viewers
yeah.
watching us, and we've got some questions here as well. Is it possible to
Okay.
view this video at a later time? Yep, you can just watch it on YouTube, especially because it's easier to find it there, or
Yeah.
on my Facebook
Well,
page.
if we get more questions, we can, I guess, essentially answer them later on. But in terms of the step 4, this is where you essentially get the job offer. And so the job offer cannot be just any job offer. It has to be an acceptable one, especially from an accredited employer. And so you can apply for jobs, particularly through the Education Gazette. And so I would personally start there first. However, nothing stops you from using Seek NZ and Trade Me Jobs as well. Those ones are New Zealand's national job listing websites. So they provide most of the opportunities. So if you are looking for jobs or at this particular stage, I would consider going to them. But yeah, And I believe there's
There's
step
one
5.
more question
Any-
here from Selena. She's a
Oh, hey.
primary school teacher. Is there any opportunity to take early childhood education? I think, yeah.
So in terms of early, yeah, there's definitely, so as a primary school teachers are included in the tier 2, the work to residence, skilled residence pathway. And so for residents, for teachers, the recent change only was selected for the secondary teacher. So before, secondary teachers used to be in the work to residence, also known as the tier 2 green list. And so in that tier list, you'd have to work first for a certain amount of time before you can apply for residence. And so it's essentially a 2-step process. The straight to residence is, as the name suggests, you simply enter New Zealand as a resident already. So in particular, for primary school teachers, there's an opportunity for them through the tier 2. You'd have to obtain an acceptable job offer to work in New Zealand for a certain amount of time before you can apply for residence. But the pathway is still quite prominent. And so this list is actually created for the purpose of attracting particular occupations. And if you go on the website, there's quite a lot. I wouldn't say hundreds, but there's definitely a lot of occupations included in that list, in particular requirements. And so the requirements, of course, to be eligible for those residence pathways as a teacher would be to, of course, have your teaching registration and, of course, your certificate or license to, of course, practice. So, yeah.
So just to clarify, Dean, you're saying that if you are hired in a primary or in an early childhood center, you can still process or have your pathway to residency. But then how long do you have to wait before you can apply?
So you'd have to wait if you've already secured 24 months at least of work experience in New Zealand. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Selena, for the question. Feel free to track some down as well if you guys are interested. Also, where are we? Where's the audience from? Are we tuning in mainly from New Zealand, Philippines, across all sorts?
Oh yeah, that is good. I would normally ask about the audience because you're already right, guys. Feel free to drop by in the comment section. Whereabout are you watching from? I know some of our audience are watching through YouTube and some are through Facebook. But let us know if you're still in the Philippines or you're somewhere in Europe. Because I know Joanna last time also watched my podcast and she's in Europe actually. So some of the viewers are actually not just Filipinos, some are Indian descent or in China. I remembered somebody just commented while we were having a live podcast. So guys, if you're watching, feel free to drop your location, not specifically, definitely not the specific location where you are in, but just to give us an idea.
Thanks, Mika.
We have here from the Philippines, Jan and Mika and Michelle. That's good to know. Because
nice.
Attorney Maricel is in the Philippines right now, right?
Yes, we're both actually in the Philippines. So we both came here little under a month ago. It's been amazing to be back, although the weather has been quite challenging. It's particularly around, I would say upwards from 35, it gets quite intense, especially from New Zealand standards. And so I do miss it actually in terms of the weather and just general life, but excited to go back. But yeah, I'm currently in the Philippines with you guys. So yeah, whereabouts are you guys from? I'm currently in Manila.
Someone trying to land a job. She's Pangasinan. Michelle is from Pangasinan. Donna is watching from the Philippines. Amazing facts from Saudi Arabia. That's good to know. Are you a Filipino? You're from Saudi Arabia? Let us know, please.
Yeah, perfect.
Watching from
All
Auckland.
right, without further ado, Auckland, nice.
So would you like to carry on? And we'll
I'll tell you what, with the in terms of the presentation, we'll just skim through it. I'm sure everyone has the capability of screenshotting or has access to the presentation, so you're more than welcome to take it. Yeah. But essentially, the fifth step would be to apply for your visa. Pretty straightforward. Essentially, this is the latter steps of things. So when you're at this stage, you'd essentially be looking at either doing a DIY application. And so here at NZITS, we don't frown on DIY applications. You know, in terms of your capabilities, if you're able to process your own application, by any means, go for it. But for me, The way I like to put it is in terms of for example, my car. I've recently had some situations where I had to go to the mechanic, and I was considering doing it myself. And quite often, sometimes it may be worse off than it was before. So if you are seeking help, we are definitely here. I, and of course, Maricel, do attend to these sort of applications all the time. So if you do have any questions, feel free to get in touch. If it's just a simple question, whether you qualify or not, feel free to send your CV. I'm more than happy to get anything off your chest. But yeah, step 5, apply for your visa. And so this is only for school teachers, but you'd need to have your salary assessed by the education payroll. And so this is important, particularly for their own regulation policies. I have no personal comment as to why I think this is necessary, but in terms of school teachers, they will need to get their salary assessed. Yeah. Next one. And this is for the early childhood teachers. So feel free to screenshot this. This is pretty much a summary or a checklist of all the things you need. And by any means, this does not replace professional advice or guidance. This is merely just to get things going. And of course, as mentioned, everyone's on a different journey, different stage in life. So yeah, particularly good for those just wanting to start out. Next one. Same thing with the school teachers. We have that there. Feel free to leave it up for a couple seconds for people to screenshot. Oh, we have a person from Thailand and Saudi Arabia. Oh, you've got quite a nice diversity in your audience.
Yeah. Thank you guys for answering.
Yeah. And so this is the registration and practicing certificate. And so essentially what you'll need to apply is you need to show, of course, that you are satisfactorily trained to teach. You need to demonstrate that you have English language competency. And so this can be done in various factors. As mentioned, you can either do this through evidence that you have studied in a particular country that speaks English, or you can do it through an acceptable English language test. You also need to show that you are of good character. So you need to obtain your overseas police clearance and of course, verify your identity, passport, those sort of administration things. Gather the information you need and apply for the registration and practicing certificate. So the process does take 6 to 12 weeks, but as mentioned, if you do have a job offer, don't freak out. You'd be able to get your application fast-tracked through the Teaching Council, which is always a beneficial thing. But yeah.
It's good that you've already mentioned they obtained the overseas police clearance, because other Filipinos have already worked in the US or in China, or maybe the one who just commented that she or he is from Saudi Arabia. They are probably teaching there too. So when you say police clearance, even if they stay there for a few months only or for a year, how long do they have to stay there before they?
The process will be different depending on which visa you take and which pathway. But essentially, for temporary visas, you'd need to obtain a police clearance from a country that you've stayed in for more than 5 years. And so essentially, your citizenship, home country, and also any country that you've lived in after 17 years old for more than 5 years.
Okay, 5 years. I don't remember if my husband secured that police clearance, because he just worked there for 3 years, and that was a long time ago. I don't know if it has changed already. But it's good for them to know this, because before leaving that country, it would be nice to sort it out first. Yeah.
Although I do just want to comment as well, in terms of the police clearance, as mentioned, it's quite hard to put it in one sentence form. There's definitely different considerations. So what I do suggest as well is, in terms of the character issues, if you do have any questions in terms of the particular certificates, I'm more than happy to refine them for anyone at a later stage. So yeah. But yeah, in terms of the pathways and the New Zealand residency, so how can teachers, of course, obtain this, and what benefits are provided on this front? Next, please. And so we have 2 current skilled residence pathways available. There's the SMC. Now, the skilled migrant category has been around for a few years now, and it's essentially a flexible points-based system that rewards you for your qualifications, skills, and experience. And so you cannot combine them. You can only use or elect one of these factors into the points, and where you can claim additional points is actually through the work experience obtained in New Zealand. And so essentially this, as well as the green list pathway, are very similar. It's actually become a lot more simpler over time. And so the skilled migrant category, as I said, has been around for years. The green list pathway has only been around post-COVID, and so essentially this was the list that they generated just to fill in the holes of the market. So yeah, without further ado, there is also a slide which essentially summarizes the available pathways. If you just press the right arrow.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be a little graph kind of showing the point space. I'm sure it'll be in the next one, but yeah, this is essentially just some information. I do just want to comment as well. The age factor is actually not. You do not accumulate points on your age. I have yet to take that out actually, but you'll be doing so with the qualifications, work experience, and of course your skill level, occupation needed for professional registration. But essentially, you can claim 3 points for either, or sorry, 3 to 5 points for either your qualification. For example, if you have a bachelor's degree, you can claim 3 points for that. You can also claim 5 points if you have a master's degree, and you can also combine the work experience needed. So for example, if you can claim 5 points for your level of qualification as a master's, you can only work, you can claim for 1 point for 1 year of work experience in New Zealand. If you have a bachelor's, you can use 3 points to work in New Zealand for 3 years. And so you can kind of see the different pathways and of course the benefits of, for example, studying in New Zealand. So if you're at a stage where in terms of teaching, you need to meet the certain skill level or the certain qualification level, I would consider studying in New Zealand, of course, to have a pathway to residency on that front. If you don't have a qualification, however, you can also do a job offer. So you can, for example, claim 3 points for 1.5 times median salary. And there's other multipliers for the other points. I don't have it off the top of my head, but yeah.
But there will be another way. They just need to probably contact you to clarify all of the other things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So this is I said it's a table, very much kind of like a if and no analysis. So if this applies, a certain criteria would be available for you. If another applies, a certain I guess criteria would be available for you. So it really does depend, and it's quite niche for some individuals. However, in terms of the skilled migrant category, this is the main residence pathway for not just teachers, but just anyone who are able to claim points for whatever factors are at play. So qualifications, work experience, and professional registration. And so if your occupation does require professional registration, then you can claim points for that. So that's quite good. Yeah. And so here we are, actually. This is the table that I was hoping to see. It was quite hard to visualize some of the pathways available, or at least, of course, explain it. But I'm glad that we have a table here. So as mentioned, at the very bottom, you can claim 3 points for either a New Zealand registration in a specified occupation requiring at least 2 years of training, or have a bachelor's degree or postgraduate certificate, or have a job or job offer in New Zealand that's paying 1.5 times the median wage. And if you have either one of these, you can claim 3 points, and you can claim an additional 3 points if you can show that you have obtained 3 years of skilled work in New Zealand on any work visa. And so this work visa can be, for instance, an accredited employer work visa or another visa on that front. And so if you have this, you can qualify for the skilled migrant category resident visa. This isn't the only requirements to meet for this resident visa. You will need to meet, of course, administration requirements such as your character and health. You need to be of good health. You need to be of good character. And in residence, you'll need to meet a certain English language requirement.
Just to clarify about the system, if you don't mind, because I remember when we applied for this one, it went to 80 points or up. So this time around, they move it down to 6 points.
Yeah, so actually, when I first started practicing as an advisor, I was used to the 180 points, as you mentioned. And so before, the points-based system was very, I would consider complex, at least to what we have now. And so the difference that I can see from this one compared to the last policy is that not just in terms of a numerical value, there's less points to consider, but also less variables to assess. And so this system, it's just a very simplified, user-friendly approach. I personally enjoy it. In terms of the skilled migrant category, I said we've had this for quite some time, but it's good to see some proactive refinements over the years. And And essentially with this points-based system, a lot of people can gain residence. And so it does not just lead this to educations, it can lead to certain occupations as well. As mentioned, this encaptures, I would anticipate more than half of the residence opportunities for migrants in New Zealand. Not just Filipinos in particular, but just everyone applying for residence. This would be mainly the predominant approach across all of them. But yeah, so have a look. Feel free to screenshot, as one said. You can look at the certain avenues, and this is essentially why I sort of discussed this more of an extensive level. You can claim 5 points, for example, if you have a New Zealand registration of at least 5 years of training, or a master's degree, and you'll only need 1 year of skilled work. And the benefit to this as well, it's almost a tipper. When you study a master's in New Zealand, and of course you complete it, you will be rewarded by New Zealand through a post-study work visa. And so you'll be eligible to obtain a post-study work visa. It's essentially a gift for completing your studies. It's really good, yeah. And so you'll be given this for 3 years. There's no questions asked. 3 years. So technically, if you find a job at the very start of your graduation, or you've completed it, and you are able to work within 1 year at an accredited employer, you can apply for residency with 2 years remaining on your post-study work visa. And so there's no rush for you to look for a job. For example, you could even take residence if you find a job 1 year after you finish your studies. So there is quite a lot of leeway, per se. So yeah, this is the skilled migrant category. Yeah, it's quite good. And so the green list residence pathway, this is quite new. It is essentially I would consider it's more of an externality to what we experienced in COVID. And so the green list residence, it provides certain occupations like the secondary teachers, a fast track process to residency for them and their family. And so, as mentioned, New Zealand's been doing quite some good things in terms of their residence pathway for some migrants, and they are rewarding those who can contribute to particular areas fairly recently. And so if you have in-demand skills, you'd be essentially given a few benefits, and these benefits are divided into 2 options. We've got the straight to residence, which is the tier 1 list, and the work to residence, which is the tier 2. And so these 2 options should be also in diagram format, so feel free to press the right arrow. Yeah, so the green list pathway, yes, it's perfect. So here we have, I said, if you have something to screenshot, feel free to get a copy of this. This is the residence pathways available under the green list. As mentioned, straight to residence, this can be for things like, for example, your general practitioners, nurses, secondary teachers, as mentioned, and the list goes on. Tier 2, this is, for example, things related to healthcare or particular occupations. It's quite hard to pinpoint exactly the occupations on this list. It is quite extensive. So, but yeah, anyone included on this list and meet the specified qualifications, registration, and wage requirements, and work in New Zealand for 2 years are able to obtain residence through the work to residence pathway. And same goes with the straight to residence, with the difference of not needing to work in New Zealand first. So they can pretty much enter New Zealand as a resident, which is good. Yeah. And so this actually was taken, I said a few weeks ago, but secondary teachers will now be eligible for the straight to residence. And so as we experienced from May, secondary teachers will move from the tier 2 to the tier 1, essentially enabling them a straight to residence pathway if they hold a full-time job offer. Yeah,
that's good to hear. Even if they're applying from offshore, they can straight away resident.
I'm just gonna get water. Yeah.
And there you go.
Sorry, got to me before I did. Yes. So apologies, I was just getting some water. But yeah, this is essentially me. I'm currently a licensed immigration advisor. I have been licensed since last year, and so I'm currently in the process of also finding out whether I am the youngest licensed immigration advisor in New Zealand. And so one of the requirements for being a licensed immigration advisor is you need to complete a graduate diploma in immigration advice and immigration law. And so in order to do this, you'd need to, of course, go through rigorous training and, of course, study the law. But you also need to hold a previous qualification. So it's essentially a postgraduate study. I'm currently also wanting to proceed further and hopefully get into immigration law and hopefully become an attorney myself. But small steps into the right direction would, of course, give the benefits. But feel free to get in touch. There's my personal email. I've got my Philippine and New Zealand phone numbers there. Just FYI, in the Philippines, if I am in New Zealand, unfortunately, I will not be able to accept or receive calls or texts. So feel free to get in touch through Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Viber, anything of that nature. Just plug one of those details in any social app, you should find me. But yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much.
It's a
But
pleasure
by
to
the
be
way,
here on behalf of Maricel. Yeah.
how do you pronounce your last name, if you don't mind? Because why?
That's okay. So
Okay.
it's actually it's got German. It's a German last name, and so the W is pronounced V, and so in Germany you'd pronounce this last name as Weischede.
Oh my goodness, that's quite Weischede.
Yeah.
Weischede. Did I say it right?
Weischede. Yes, you did. Yeah.
New
Hey, perfect.
vocabulary for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now we're going back to
No problem.
accommodating the questions of our viewers just a while ago. Let me just quickly go back. Whether appointment, I'm seeking clarification on whether my appointment as a special need teacher would qualify me for the straight to residence pathway, especially since my NZQA recognizes my secondary qualification at level 7. You get for me
Sorry, was that to
personally.
me?
Yeah, if you can answer that one.
Sorry, what was the question? Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Is actually his NZQA is recognized as level 7 secondary education. I mean, his qualification is secondary teacher, but then his working,
Who's an inquirer? Sorry.
his appointment, it's Ralph Leonardo Casal.
Ralph.
Yeah.
Oh, Ralph Leonardo. Okay. Hi, Ralph. Sorry, I was just trying to find your question. I recently obtained.
Maybe I should stop presenting now. Stop screen. There you go. So at least you'll be visible.
Yes. So the answer to that question, Ralph, is yes. In terms of being able to teach as a secondary teacher with special needs, of course. And so there is no particular registration for particular teachers. You obtain a registration in a general sense. There's no particular, for example, what is it called? Special filters, for example, special needs or another sort of expert. It's a very general approach. When you get a registration, it's just that, if that makes sense.
But will he qualify for the secondary, for the straight to residency, although he's not teaching in secondary schools?
You would. Do you have a qualification? Which was my?
It seems like he is. Clarification on whether my appointment is a special. Not 100% sure what he means by appointment. Maybe he's about to start, or he's already working as a special needs teacher. Like he's.
I'll tell you what, Ref. In terms of that question, I'd be more than happy to answer this at a later stage. I feel like I do need to get more information from you in order to give you a better response. And of course, we find that in any situation like this. So in terms of your question, I'm more than happy to answer it, but I'm more than happy to also get in touch and of course find out some other ways that we can help.
Maybe we can have some. I've
seen Attorney Maricel joining us here a while ago.
Yes, I saw her messages.
Are there schools offering job? Oh yeah, just visit Education Gazette or Trade Me. There are some schools that would post there, but definitely Education Gazette is their #1 platform for teaching positions. Yeah, we've got viewers from Thailand as well. Pinoy from Saudi Arabia. Or is it possible to get job offers from Philippines, or one has to come to New Zealand?
Yeah, so you can actually get you can get a job offer from Philippines. You can get a job offer from New Zealand. Anywhere. So nothing stops you, for example, for going to New Zealand to look for jobs. No, I wouldn't say that be the main priority, but for example, if you do want to experience New Zealand and go for a visit, it's not against policy to be open to potential. For example, if you're looking at studying, you may be open to looking for opportunities. The only thing is you'll need to, of course, apply for the appropriate visa if you were to change your situation. And so if you do have a job offer, to apply and be granted a work visa before you, of course, work in that role. Same goes for studies exceeding longer than 3 months.
We've got Chair who's from the Philippines and still waiting for her certification. It's best to have the registration, eh? From the Philippines as well. I complete bachelor of chemistry. Then I take elementary education, teacher education. Now I working as a teacher. What next steps? What's the next step to get a job in New Zealand? I'm from India.
Okay, so the next steps in terms of working as a teacher is, if you are working as an elementary teacher, you'd need to first assess whether, of course, you're fit to be a teacher in New Zealand through either your level of qualification and your work experience obtained as well. And so you'll need to consider getting your professional registration to teach, and this can be done through the Teaching Council, as mentioned before. And so if you are working, and of course do meet the requirements in order to teach, and of course can demonstrate that you have English language proficiency, then you'll be able to obtain an opportunity in New Zealand and hopefully get a job by then. So my general advice would be to, of course, obtain your professional registration first before looking to apply for jobs. And so that's kind of I would say, a very predominant factor to increasing the chance of you getting a job offer. And so employers in New Zealand, if you already have an accreditation or registered to teach, they essentially can see that you are fit for purpose and, of course, are able to work. And so nothing stops you from applying for jobs before you obtain a registration, but I would perceive that employers are less likely to take the chance in that front because, for example, nothing guarantees that you'll be able to get a registration or practicing certificate. And so you'll need to assess if you are first competent. And that also does reduce the amount of job wastage or opportunity costs for applying for jobs. So that's also beneficial in that front.
We have a long question here from Ralph again. If I'm going to pop it up and then the screen, then it will cover the whole thing. So I'll just read it. I recently obtained an AEWV for ANSCOF 241511. In the event that I am assigned to teach secondary students with special needs, I am interested in understanding whether my appointment as a special needs teacher would potentially qualify me for the straight to residence pathway. So he's just clarifying that if in case he'll be working with students, high school students with special needs. Other things. It's more likely.
That's quite a very good question, yeah. I do appreciate the good questions, Ralph. It, of course, gets the conversation going. But essentially, for your question there, I would suggest and tailor you to getting in touch because, as mentioned, there is some situations where a teacher is specializing in a particular area of education, and so these comments or merely general inquiries may not be relevant to everyone else. And I would suggest, Ralph, in terms of your particular inquiry, feel free to get in touch. I'm more than happy to find this out and, of course, let you know accordingly. It just saves both the interest of you, Ralph, and the viewers. But the other one we have is Mika. Did we answer Mika's yet? Hi, Mika.
Not yet. Mika Bangud, what does the skilled work experience mean? Let's say, for example, someone from Philippines working as a teacher 5 years.
So skilled work experience, essentially there's a few definitions depending on which visa we're talking about or essentially pathway. But skilled work experience is work experience that you have obtained where you can demonstrate that you have been suitably qualified via training and or experience to, of course, work in. And so, for example, in order to teach, you'll need to show that you were first licensed. For example, if you're working as a teacher in the Philippines, you need to show when you obtained your license to teach and how long you've been teaching for. This can be done through your certificate of employment. And essentially, for example, in New Zealand, the time for skilled work would be after you have obtained your teaching registration and, of course, have a work visa. And so the easiest indicator is if you have a work visa to work in New Zealand to teach and you have a job, you can pretty much count the skilled work experience from the first day of you working officially in that role.
Here comes attorney. So she just probably
Yeah.
answered the question a while ago. Skilled employment is defined as an occupation that requires specialist technical and managerial expertise, or to put it in a layman's terms, if the occupation has a corresponding level of 1 to 3 in the ANSCO, so that's it. That's skilled employment. So you don't
So
just say, oh,
ENSCO is,
yeah, carry on, Elise. I think you can explain this better.
no problem. I'll definitely give you the floor. I feel like I've been yapping on.
Because a lot of people are getting mixed up with the word skilled, because they would consider themselves skilled because of the experience. But in New Zealand, that's the ANSCO is the basis of skilled employment. Is that right?
Of course, yes. So the Australian New Zealand Standard Classification of Occupation is our, I would consider our digital index to really refine how skilled an occupation is. And so the skill level, for example, if it is a skill level 1, it is considered or deemed a very high skilled job, and this can be found in certain occupations that, for example, a GP, an engineer, for example, and some other sorts. The different skill levels, for example, skill level 3, there's also skill level 4 and 5, but essentially those are, for example, your trades occupations, some construction roles, but essentially the ANSCO is the index to really give us an indication of the types of occupations available, and of course the main roles and duties for each occupation. And so what Immigration New Zealand would do would be using and referring to the ANSCO occupation and make sure that the work that you were doing from the work experience claimed matches or suitably matches the ones of ANSCO. And so in hindsight, for example, if, because we recently did an individual who was working as a spray painter. And so their ANSCO occupation was not just a spray painter, it was an anti-corrosion spray painter. It was very specific. And so there was certain duties and certain qualification requirements or work experience requirements in order to work in that particular occupation as of a anti-corrosion spray painter. And so essentially you would need to demonstrate that what an anti-corrosion spray painter does is what you have also done or do. And this threshold is usually 51% of all of the responsibilities for that occupation. And so suitably matches is defined through particular avenues on the ANSCO.
When we say a secondary teacher, what ANSCO level does it fall under?
I unfortunately I don't know off the top of my head in terms of the ANSCO skill
because I've heard
teacher.
back in the days when I was reading the ANSCO levels, I know that level 1 is somewhat like the scientists, engineers. I'd say.
So teacher, so that would be the teachers would be skill level 1. In terms of so in terms of that, they are seen, of course, to contribute quite fairly in terms of their skill. Yeah.
That's good to know. All right, we've got another. Is relief teaching considered as a teaching experience?
It would. So teaching, if you were registered or licensed to provide that service, then
I don't think you can do relief teaching if you don't have a license. All of our relievers are licensed teachers.
I think if it's considered as a teacher, and of course, as I know in the Philippines particularly, you have to be licensed to teach. If you have been licensed to teach in order to provide that, then you would most certainly be able to use that. Yeah.
Oh, the answer of Attorney Tomika, your work experience overseas does not have bearing on your residency points. Only the work. Oh, that's a good clarification. Interesting.
Thank you for that.
I just want to clarify the Teaching Council assessed my bachelor diploma in secondary education. I'm planning to apply in primary here in New Zealand. Am I qualified for the straight residency since I was assessed in my bachelor secondary? So basically assessed as secondary teacher, but then he's working or she's working in the primary. Would she be able to apply for straight residency if she's teaching in primary?
Unless it's 30, she may, unless it's 30 hours per. I think, are we talking about the same? Sorry, am I?
It's quite similar to the question. No, because
I
there
would love to hear Maricel's comment on this one particularly.
Okay.
In terms
Yeah,
of,
yeah. Would like a comment from. It has to be full-time employment or cumulative. If you are doing at least 30 hours per week, then yes. That's good to know. So if you know, definitely attorney or their law firm would be able to help you in case. Because I personally would say no, because they are basically working in the primary. But if you guys that they can, then they would just definitely reach out to you to help them, you know, because there's a
Of
chance.
course. Yeah, and I do personally love hearing about the inquiries. So if you do have a question, I'm more than happy to get in touch, just because it provides me an opportunity to really extend on some of the comments that I have. So feel free to get in touch. I'll leave my contact details there.
If it's important for kindergarten to submit IELTS or TFL, I haven't heard of TFL, sorry, but
So
what I know
yeah,
is
so in terms of this, in terms of this question, you would only need to show that if you have, if you do not have any other evidence to show that you have English proficiency in other forms. So you'd need to present a English test, an acceptable one that can be done through, you know, your IELTS and TOEFL. I think the one that we were looking at before, TOEFL. There's a certain threshold, so there's a graph available on the immigration website.
Okay, and hi, kia ora. Does the teaching experience start counting since we got our teacher registration? Say, for example, we were teaching as an unqualified teacher prior to our teacher registration. Should that be counted as a teaching experience?
That I would say in terms of that question, I believe that it would not count. You'd need to, of course, show that you were suitably qualified via training and or experience. And so as soon as you could do that, and as soon as you get a job, you'd be able to start from then. You wouldn't be able to claim for work experience by simply just having the registration alone.
Yeah, you know. The straight hello for Ryan. The straight to resident visa says include your partner and dependent children age 24 or younger in your visa application. In terms of the cost, is the New Zealand 4,290 would include everyone in the application, or there will be separate additional fee for my wife and children? Thank you so much.
So the application itself, there is what we call the INZ fees and guides, and they do have their rates for different applications. And of course, in terms of the children of the family, if they were applying on their own separate visa, they would need, you'd need to, of course, pay for the application separately. And so that's something to consider.
When we applied for residency back in 2018, we paid around 2,000 for the whole family already, and we are 4. It has gone up already, but I'm not sure if it's only for one person or for the whole family.
So if everyone is included in that application, that's just one fee. But if it's a partnership based, for example, if it's like a partnership based work visa, or for example, a domestic child or international student visa, depending on where everyone is in terms of their situation, it will also depend on the fees. And so in terms of the residence application, if all applicants are, of course, part of that resident visa, it's one application.
This is the answer of Attorney Maricel to Ralph. If you will be assigned as a secondary teacher. So yeah, I assume if you are teaching in a secondary school, then you can apply for straight to residency, because that's for secondary teacher. And for Rona, the answer should be post registration to be considered skilled employment. So you have, like what you've said a while ago, they should have registration first before the employment is counted. Thanks so much, Atty, for watching us. You're supposed to be here joining us too, but it's all good.
I know personally, I do have big shoes to fill, so I do appreciate everyone's time and, of course, the opportunity to share a bit of insight myself.
Oh, this is a clarification. It's for the whole family. That's good. But it has doubled. My goodness. How long ago was it?
Yeah.
Lesson to listen. So informative. Thank you, Sin. And you can also contact, yes, it's best to contact them for more specific and accurate advice because each situation is different.
Yeah,
Minimum
and I
family.
just want to feed off that as well, just because in terms of the immigration industry, it is ever changing, and due to the nature, there's a lot of adjustments all the time, and it becomes a challenge, but also an opportunity for us advisors and of course education providers, any third party agent that of course assists anyone in moving to New Zealand. It becomes very challenging, but also an opportunity for us to give you guys some new information. And of course, for most people like myself, it's quite hard to essentially have everything tailored to a particular person without having any other additional information, in any follow up questions at play. So I'm more than happy to get in touch with you guys. If you have any questions, send through email. And of course, as being a provisionally licensed immigration advisor, gives me an opportunity to look into particular situations. And essentially, at this point, it allows of course, you the information that you need, and also, an opportunity for me to look for you on your behalf.
Thanks so much. And then there's another one. Minimum of how many years of teaching experience required for teacher registration? As far as I know, is 2, but I don't know if it has changed.
Yeah, I believe currently. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna do a quick search here because there is what we call the teaching council.
Yeah, the teacher registration will be under the teaching council. This is not the immigration. So, and again, it's not just the immigration policies that keep on changing. It's also the policies of the NZQA,
Everything.
teaching council. IELTS, I haven't heard yet, but who knows? They might change their policies or the scores required. We can't tell.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got another question from Mika. Thank you. Oh, actually, she's just thanking us. Meaning to say, skilled migrant category resident visa is not for me. But reach out to our license Dean. Reach out to Dean because he might be able to assist you and find a way for you to be able to come to New Zealand and get residency. Ms. Agustin, you can also visit our website. There you go. Thank you. At www, they would say, nzimmigrationhelpservice.com. Just for clarification, I'm working as a primary teacher now. I obtained my registration September last year, then proceed to relief teaching for 3 months, September to December. Can I apply for my residency now, or should I wait for next year?
You may be able to consider if you were looking. Do you have a job offer already to work?
I think
are you working in New Zealand? Yeah.
She's working in a primary.
Working as a.
It's best to probably direct message.
Yeah, I would consider in terms of there's so many possibilities that you can do from here, and so I would essentially need to see if what of course you have in front of you is legitimate, and so this can be done through of course the documents you have, when exactly were you employed to work at that, and when you got your registration, and of course once I figure out that, then we'll be able to move forward. Unless Maricel does have further comments towards that, I'm sure.
I've got a question on this one because when you get your registration, teacher registration, you are required for an IELTS, and we know IELTS is only good for 2 years. And say, for example, it has lapsed already, and you've been teaching here, you haven't applied for residency yet, and then you plan to apply. Are you still required to get IELTS for residency? Because we were asked for that.
You may be required to get IELTS, and so that would depend as well on what the number of years that you were able to show that you've been speaking English. So that, as mentioned, there's quite a lot of different ways to demonstrate your English proficiency. And so if your test has already lapsed 2 years, then you may consider getting another acceptable English language test result. So.
And the whole family will be required at least 15 years old and above, because
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So yeah, there are more other things we need to know that we can't cover
Yes,
everything
yeah.
here.
Yeah, it's very
Just,
hard. Given the time, it's quite hard to believe that it's already been an hour. It feels like it's been
I know,
just
right?
like
Oh my goodness,
yeah.
sorry about that. Are you still happy to stay and accommodate other questions?
No, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm more than happy to. Yeah.
Thank
It's just
you so much.
I was just merely saying that it was uh fast, basically.
No, I was keeping an
Yeah.
eye on the time, but then when you are accommodating questions, it's just
No
time
problem.
flies
No
straight
problem.
away.
Yeah, of course, time flies, doesn't it?
Got this one. Important advisories. Can I contact direct? Yep. I
Yeah. So let's
think
hear it. Yeah.
to show. And website was also posted here in the comments, so feel free to have a look at that. And then I'll be happy to pop in their profile, and I will
Yeah.
look it up later. I'll try my best if I still have time later.
No
Anyway,
problem. No problem. No
where
problem.
can we
Where
contact
can
you?
we contact? So you can
Yeah.
contact me if you just search my name. I'm sure you have access to the presentation. Feel free to leave my contact details section there. It's on. It's on
Yes,
the.
comment from Attorney Maricel, the answer already.
Thanks for that.
Send your
Yeah.
queries to this email address, please. And we've got another one. Hello, what about skilled migrant residency? As we checked our points, we need 1 year experience before we can apply for visa. It's going to be a 1 year this September. Can we submit EOI this early, or should we wait for September? Thank you.
When I hear we, there's other applicants involved, and so unfortunately I will not be able to comment on other applicants given the length of that question. And so, as mentioned, Ray J, more than happy to of course accommodate through private message. Situations can change if there's other people in your application involved, and so considering I don't know much about who is involved, it would be best to get in touch.
So when you're saying skilled migrant residency, you're more confident to just answer straight away that if he's skilled, then it's okay. But if he's bringing a family with him, that's a different story.
Yeah, there's just more so dealing with the other factors at play. The whether they're qualified to be eligible to be included in that of course application, that visa application, and also to demonstrate the partnership requirements, for example, or whether they're there's different requirements for certain applicants, and of course what they are able to do. And so yeah, for example, a situation that we've had in terms of that front is in terms of the principal applicant, the partner was essentially an extension or applied on based of partnership, and so essentially you need to provide certain evidence to prove your partnership and also prove your relationship to the principal applicant. So there is a lot of other variables at play there. So yeah.
Okay. And hang on, did I miss something? Yep. Had 5 years experience in teaching. I'm majored science secondary, but I'm willing to teach in primary. So that's just a comment. Yeah, go ahead. You're welcome, because I'm also a secondary teacher teaching in primary. It's okay to teach in different.
Are you a teacher as well?
Oh yeah, I haven't introduced.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm a secondary teacher. No, in the Philippines, but I'm teaching here in primary. Yes.
Oh, great. Well, I wish I had the opportunity to get to know you beforehand, but yeah.
That's all right. Short of time anyway.
Yeah, well, I really do appreciate it. Nevertheless, of course, as mentioned, it's been a pleasure to get in touch with everyone here, and of course, answer the questions. Maricel does, of course, send her regards. I know it's been different, and in full transparency, she's actually here in front of me, which is also she's here in the background. And I'll be very honest with you, it has been quite difficult to multitask, and she's slowly whispering in my ear.
That's so funny.
That's all right, Mom. They know you're there. Mom said hi to Grandma, apparently. So yeah, I think the good thing about what we do here at NZIHS, and of course the value that hopefully myself and of course Maricel does provide to potential teachers in New Zealand, is that we are a family-focused agency. Essentially, there's certain points of how people and I guess how communities can provide value to one another. And so our main point of difference is that we are a family-driven agency, and being part of the immigration journey has been quite exciting. And so I do, before I leave, just want to say thank you to everyone else here. And of course, nice to meet you, Juvie. It's been a pleasure to act on behalf of Maricel. As mentioned, I do know that there's been some, Maricel does have some quite big shoes to fill, but it's been a pleasure to have this opportunity to talk to every single one of you guys, whether you're tuning in from Philippines, New Zealand, Dubai, or India. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you once again, Juvie. I didn't mean to do the closing for you, so if you have any other final comments.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I as mentioned, I do run my own webinar, so I do have kind of.
Oh, there you go. Feel free to.
You know what I mean?
Link to the webinar, so the audience will be directed to watch your webinar and ask further questions in relation to immigration.
That'll be wonderful. I do appreciate that.
Your time. I appreciate your time, Dean, and also Attorney Maricel. Thank you so much for your time as well, and for your guidance, your training as well. Oh, good.
Hopefully, I get to see you shortly.
Yeah, sure. Not a problem.
No problem.
See ya.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah, I've already, because he's also busy. So we are just so thankful with his time and his expertise, and also with the guidance of his mom. But feel free to reach out to them for more specific advice, depending on your case. They'll be more than happy to accommodate you. And let me just check out the others. Thank you so much for appreciating this live podcast and for joining us. We've got Shira, secondary teacher as well, teaching. My specialization is English. Yeah, thank you for watching us. I've just joined the live. If you missed out the first part, feel free to go back to my YouTube channel and watch it on my playlist. I've categorized my videos already in my playlist, so look it up, all the live podcasts that I had, and also the videos that I've made, the shorts and everything, just to give you an idea of how life is as a teacher here in New Zealand and living here, especially if you're coming from overseas. And who else do we have here? Do we have any other questions that I can probably answer as far as I know, based on my experience and what I've heard as well? We've got IELTS registration in teacher council. As long as I have job offer, employment, senior highs, I can apply for it. I believe so. So long as just start, just get an employment. And if you're not sure on what to do, because like what Dean has said, you can do a DIY, search it up. It's on the website Immigration New Zealand. You can search it up yourself and do it yourself. Or if you need their help, feel free to touch base to them, please. And I have strong sides to prove as secondary English teacher. How's my chances for STR pathway? There are many factors, but if you can land a job and you can prove that your qualifications, registration, and your current employment here in New Zealand match, then I believe so. Yeah. Hello, Paula. Thanks for entertaining our questions. And is New Zealand open to hiring elementary teachers or just secondary teachers at the moment? As far as I know, vacancies are always popping up every now and then. Check Education Gazette website, but there's a big shortage in the secondary. I think there are a lot of secondary teachers who are moving down to primary. That's why there's not much in need, although there will always be a lot of vacancies around because teachers move around here in New Zealand. Like I can move to another school. I've just recently moved to my new one anyway, so maybe not at the moment. All right. Hi, I'm a licensed nurse and teacher. My bachelor is nursing. I took prof ed units in order to be a licensed teacher. I taught science for 8 years. So I also have a master's degree. What are my chances to apply in New Zealand? It depends on, number one, your registration. So get registered first and then apply. I can't really say. It's totally up to you. You will also have a chance to maybe work in the healthcare sector. Not sure. I cannot 100% assure you that you can land a job, especially straight away. it's still based on your skill and how would you present yourself when you're applying for a job. You need to obtain registration first. Yep, that's what attorney said a while ago. Coming from USA, been working in ECE for at least 10 months in New Zealand. When can apply for residency? Like it has been mentioned already, so feel free to reach out to attorney Maricel. The website has already been provided and the email address, so just reach out to them, please. Even if my NZQA is secondary, but I'm currently teaching in primary, I'm not eligible to apply for straight resident. As far as I know, it should be hired as a secondary teacher. But if you want to be assured, reach out to immigration lawyer. Infante, you can do tier 2. Yep, the pathway. Thank you so much, attorney, for accommodating their queries, because we weren't able to answer their questions straight away while Dean was presenting. This live is very helpful. Thank you so much for appreciating. Thank you for having this live. I'm secondary teacher, science, 23 years. Do I need to take IELTS? Yes. Are they now only requiring IELTS? How about PTE? IELTS or PTE are accepted. What registration is that? Registration, teacher registration in New Zealand. So it has been presented already by Dean a while ago, the process. If you missed that first part, then just go back to the video, please. It's more detailed to give you a summary on how to come to New Zealand to teach. Thank you so much, Ryan, for appreciating. I'd like to be a teacher there too. Yes, just get registered. Thanks so much. And do we have slots for free NZQA? I'm not sure now if they're still offering it, but check it out. Check out the NZQA website. And entertaining questions here. Thank you. And we've got thank you for appreciating our speakers. This is actually free. I'm not paying them. Then I'm not getting paid as well on this one. Unless you attend my webinar, then I kind of use the donation that I get to pay for this platform that I'm also using for the live podcast, where everyone can access it and join me live, so you can have your questions answered by our lovely guests, teachers, experienced teachers and experts like attorney Maricel. How about SPED teachers? Is it in demand? SPED teachers is a high. I could not 100% say in demand, but they are hiring every now and then. So like what I've said, there's a lot of changes in the immigration policies, and from time to time there will be changes as well in the NZQA. You see the free NZQA assessment. It's actually new. Before, I had to pay for it. And the teaching council, who knows what will happen, what changes will pop up again. Hopefully it's for your benefit. But if not, I would say grab the chance if you can. And right there, I've tried my best to answer all your queries. Thank you so much, guys, for bearing with us, staying with us, watching us, and engaging with us. Have a good night, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. And feel free to give me a heads up as to what topic would you like me to talk about, and who you want to be our guest here, so that you can get more insights and ideas. Ka kite!